Welcome back to pregame.tv. Football is here, officially. Kicks off Sunday. Hall of Fame game. Are you ready?
I'm not really ready for this game, but I am looking forward to the inductions. Some of the guys that are going to get in there deserve to be in there.
Now the Hall of Fame game, I mean, let's be realistic. This is a game that these guys have been in camp. Some of them, maybe a week at most, some few days. Where's the continuity going to be with either team in the Hall of Fame game?
And that's the whole thing. It's the first one, and that's why I know a lot of people lean to the under. I know our pal Fezzik loved the under in this game. You think teams are going to, try and get some continuity on the offensive line, run the ball, try and open some holes, see what they have. In this day and age, Marco, with free agency, again, a lot of times, first game or two in preseason, you've got to work out the kinks, and then they use that third game for the dress rehearsal, right? And, I know there's a lot of skepticism from a lot of fans, like, we don't want 4 preseason games. But I'll tell you right now, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, if you didn't have 4 preseason games last year, you probably don't find out how good Russell Wilson is. So, there's a lot of guys that may make the team that need that 4th game to follow up on the 3rd game that they might have shown something.
Yeah. Matt Flynn, do you remember him?
It's unbelievable. We'll see if Raider fans like him.
Speaking of this total, it's at 33. That's an awful low total. So, Vegas knows the history, too, that these teams are, going to keep it close to the vest. There was a big line move in this game, from the opener. Dallas actually opened up a favorite, and it's now Miami -2.5. And that's circling around the situation with Tony Romo, uncertainty if he's going to play. We're taping on Friday. He had off-season surgery, remove a cyst on his back. But come on, a preseason game? From -1 to -2.5, 3.5 point move. How much time was Tony Romo going to play, even if he was going to play?
Right, and I mean, sometimes there's information that does come out on a bunch of these games. And Chuck Edel, my partner, Chuck's a guy that really does a lot of reading. He tries to find out what coaches are saying, how much time starters are going to play, if they have 2 good quarterbacks that are battling for a starting job. A lot of times you may want to go on that team because these guys are going head to head. They want to show that they should be the starters. So again, I'll pick and choose my spots as far as preseason. But this game is a game that I'm going to stay away from and just kind of watch. I want to see Mike Wallace out there. I really think Tannehill stepped up bigger than a lot of people thought he would last year. And this Miami team is probably the only team in the AFC East that can maybe push New England a little bit. I know there's still the Buffalo Bills fans that think that they've got a shot, and maybe they're a dark horse. The Jets, I expect nothing from.
Now, one thing I want to tell our listeners, when I said a 3.5 point line move, it is technically, 3.5 point line move. But when you're moving a line, when the line's, -1 and you're just moving it over, that's really not as significant as if you would have had the line at 2.5 and go up to, to 5 or 6. It's different. We're not really crossing through any key numbers. It's just we're still either line that it was, we're almost looking at pick the winner, and that's what it was. So not as much of an emphasis because it was such a big line move. A lot of guys look at trends as far as coaches and what they've done. And so everybody's going to point out the fact that last year, in his first year, the Dolphin coach went 0-4 straight up, 0-4 in the preseason. Wait and see a second year on that before you say that that's a pattern. Mm-hmm. Because last year, he had free pass. He drafted a rookie, taken over a team in shambles, so nobody expected anything, so there was no pressure on him. So he could go out and just, blueprint this team and see what he had. Didn't have to worry about winning. May be the case again this year, but I think as things change a little bit, don't lock that in the back of your mind that this is a guy that doesn't care about preseason. I think actually because they did enjoy a little bit of success last year, and now there's, people were expecting a jump, they might put a little more emphasis in the preseason and get Tannehill some more, get him work and get him in, because he's still, it's a second year, and I know we're going to talk about this ad nauseum on videos for the next few weeks, but we've had all those quarterbacks come into the league last year and make the big splash that they did in their rookie seasons. We're going to see which ones are able to move forward and which ones suffer the sophomore jinx.
Well, I think they've gone out. They do lose Devon Bess, who goes over to Cleveland, but I do think that they upgrade it by grabbing Mike Wallace, a guy that can stretch the field. Sorry to get that in there, Mr. Pittsburgh guy, but that's a key acquisition for Miami. And Tannehill, really didn't have that guy outside of Bess to really air out the long ball last year.
Yeah, and you can't underestimate how much that's worth. And, and Ben Roethlisberger said it many times. He said, I can't overthrow a ball to Mike Wallace. I mean, the speed's there. And when you have that threat, what that does is it opens up the tight end across the middle. It opens up Antonio Brown, had all of the routes, the underneath routes, because you're sending everybody else downfield. That's going to be a good weapon for Miami if the QB can hit him. You will see if he progresses. But that's it for us. You're on the fence on the game. I'm not going to be doing anything with the game officially on Sunday either. We'll have plays next week for sure in preseason action. The guys will be in camp a little bit more, and then we'll get an emphasis on it, and we'll be talking about different things. And you said it too, that there's spots to jump in on these teams because the coaches will say what they're thinking. A lot of times, they'll make it known. My agenda is I wasn't happy with my running game last week. We're gonna do it till we get it right. And then you can start looking, like you said, at the totals. If somebody's gonna be working on that offensive line and get the cohesiveness that they need moving into the season. Especially like the team, we'll talk about it later, Denver losing their center this year, and they're gonna be doing some work and patching that offensive line together because you got a pretty important guy back there you don't want laying on his back.
And a guy that's used to not winning preseason games, Peyton Manning, being a Colts fan, I know that. And Dungy really never put much emphasis in there. Coppin going down for Denver, yes, that hurts big time. But again, Manning and the guys will just try and get out of there healthy, try and keep what they have, in place. And, They'll come up big. Manning makes an offensive line. The Colts didn't have a good offensive line, but he gets rid of the ball so quickly, and he's got that great peripheral vision that he makes an offensive line look great. Why? Because they haven't given up a lot of sacks, because Manning doesn't take sacks.
Good point. All right, guys, enjoy the Hall of Fame game on Sunday. Next week, the crew will be in here. We'll have the double duty, and we'll have preseason action for you next weekend as well. Baseball action. Stay tuned all August for everything football, baseball, you name it, pregame.tv. He's Ken Thomson. I'm Marco D'Angelo. See you next week.